Some students are better prepared for school this morning after a friend from the University of Utah swooped in to help them out. Just so happens the homeowner's brother lives right next door. He saw these guys trying to break in through the back door, and he put his body on the line to try and stop them. Over the last 36 hours, it is now spread about 10,000 acres here further west. The performance goes until mid-May, but depending on the demand, guys, we could see the show beyond.
Look at that love.
So it really, the demand. I'm looking into your eyes. You're very beautiful.
You're not paying enough
attention. Tell me everything. I'm the horse whisperer.
Whoever's responsible for this could have picked any of these memorials, Vietnam, World War II, Korea, but they chose to pick this back memorial, likely on purpose, to send a message. All right, let's go back to the breaking news of a large structure fire. The cell phone store sign right here says, buy, sell, and trade. Police say it's the buying that got the cell phone owner in trouble.
It's a problem we've been talking about now for a few years. The salt flats, they're disappearing, but why is the big question.
Lori Holt fears that her son Josh is about to be unjustly sentenced to 2 to 4 years in jail by a Venezuelan judge. That's why she spent the last 2 months since his arrest trying to get a hold of politicians in Washington, D.C. So far, those cries have fallen on deaf ears until today.
Our buried lead, that's what we call stories that we don't think are getting enough attention. An American locked up in a jail in a hostile foreign nation.
In a random building in downtown Salt Lake City, we listen in as Congresswoman Mia Love and Lori Holt get their message out to the country on CNN.
Make sure that we're first of all, Americans know that Venezuela is not a place to go, and two, that we need to do everything we can to demand that he gets home.
Lori Holt's son, Josh, traveled to Venezuela 2 months ago to marry a fellow Mormon he met online 6 months before. After the wedding, the hope was to bring his wife and her 2 kids back to the United States. But shortly after the wedding, Holt says Venezuelan police arrested her son and his wife, planted weapons in his home, and essentially accused him of being a spy.
This is something that has been happening in Venezuela. The Venezuelan government has been horrible when it comes to human rights violation.
Congresswoman Love has been fighting for the Holts for weeks.
I'm doing everything I possibly could to make sure I would respond the way that I would want somebody to respond if it were my son that was out there.
Writing a letter to Secretary of State John Kerry demanding he ask the Venezuelan government to release Holt.
We wrote a letter on July 22nd that we have just received a response from.
She's fighting my fight for me, with me.
An emotional Lori Holt says a judge just denied her son bail and is set to rule on weapons charges September 15th. But Lori fears she knows what the judge will say, not because he's guilty, but because he's American.
I can't wait till September 15th. I can't wait that long.
Eaton doesn't know what to call it. Maybe luck, maybe fate. But it all played out as soon as Eric and Heather Bailey walked through the front door.
Yeah, I asked our hostess if I could actually have this table because I'd served him a few weeks before.
Server Sydney Malmrose helped deliver her baby sister when she was just 15, so she felt comfortable talking to the expecting parents. But as soon as she went to grab their food, Heather Bailey got up.
I had, kind of intermittent contractions kind of through the first 2 or 3 courses.
Usually the bread comes out first, but as the server dropped off the main course, little did she know she'd soon be asked to grab the bun in the oven.
She was gone for several minutes, and so I started to get concerned, and so I flagged our server, Sydney, down.
So I was like, jokingly, hey, you want me to go check on your wife, make sure she's not going into labor in the bathroom?
And so she did.
I was calling from over here, Heather, are you doing okay? And heard some, definite labor noises.
A shock, but Sydney says she remained calm, having helped deliver once before. She says she rushed to grab Heather's husband and told the hostess to grab some towels.
We rushed into the bathroom, and I arrived just in time, basically, to catch.
By the time I'd run downstairs to grab a bag of washcloths, we came back and the baby was crying, so it all happened so fast.
Within 10 minutes, the Baileys were welcoming their brand new baby boy, Christopher, into the world. But they didn't leave the restaurant without snapping a few photos with the staff first. They said the food was good and the service was fantastic.
We never ever thought that we would ever say that we had a baby inside of a restaurant, but Yeah, he apparently didn't want to wait.
Jim Peterson often paraglided and paramotored with just a couple of his closest friends, and he did it again this morning, taking off with his friend Steve Howlett from up here in Draper. But tonight, dozens in the community turn out to remember him. Paragliders take to the skies in Centerville Sunday afternoon, just hours after learning their friend, 57-year-old Jim Peterson, had died from crashing into this LDS church.
Yeah, there's a sense of loss.
Steve Howlett was the only one who went up with Peterson this morning. They went paramotoring, not paragliding. Paramotors use a propeller engine instead of relying solely on wind.
I flew alongside Jim until we got from there by I-15.
Howlett says Peterson had more gas in his tank, so he stayed up longer, but came crashing down just before 9 a.m.
We've had reports that there may have been a collapse of the chute. That we don't know 100%.
Sergeant Chad Carpenter with Draper Police says they're still trying to piece together how and why it happened. Peterson's significant other shared these photos with us on Facebook tonight, and our friends say Peterson was not only an incredible family man, but a very experienced flyer. These videos posted to his YouTube channel show him flying around the point of the mountain. And this shot shows him maneuvering around Utah Lake.
The witnesses said that it looked like he was out of control and spiraling.
Howlett says it's rare to have equipment failures in paramotoring, and he says that Peterson did have a backup chute with him. He says today's news was tough to handle, but takes comfort knowing his friend maybe didn't feel the impact.
Jim probably was not conscious. He probably blacked out from G-forces, from that spinning.
So the question is, did Peterson initiate this spin in the first place and then it simply got out of control, or was he potentially having a medical issue? That's what investigators are working to find out.